Baseball has long been considered America's favorite pastime, but baseball has played other and perhaps more significant roles throughout American history, including being an important outlet and morale booster to our brave members of each branch of the military, during peacetime and in times of war. And today, we're going to share with you one such morale-boosting program that took place during World War I that involved Clark Griffith, owner of the Washington Senators, and partnerships such as those with the YMCA and Hillerich and Bradsby, also known as Louisville Slugger. The items produced during this time, including professional model baseball bats, such as our featured piece of baseball legend Shoeless Joe Jackson, are amongst the most valuable and sought-after relics of this wartime era. However, much of the information surrounding this program and related partnerships remains a mystery to this day. But we're going to share with you what we have and what we know on this exciting episode of History and Relics. Born on July 16, 1887 or 1888, in Pickens County, South Carolina, Joe Jackson was the oldest son of Martha and George Jackson, who was a sharecropper. In 1900, when he was 13 years old, his mother was approached by one of the owners of a local cotton mill called Brandon Mill, located just west of Greenville, and soon afterwards he started playing ball for the mill's baseball team. He was the youngest player on the team and was paid $2.50 to play on Saturdays. In an interview published in the October 1949 edition of Sport magazine, Jackson recalled how he got his nickname, Shoeless. It was during a mill game played in Greenville. Jackson had blisters on his feet from a new pair of cleats, which hurt so much that he took off his shoes before stepping up the plate to bat. As play continued, a heckling fan noticed Jackson running to third base in his socks and shouted, "You shoeless son of a gun, you!" And the resulting nickname, Shoeless Joe, stuck with him throughout the remainder of his life. But not everyone was a heckler. A local fan named Charlie Ferguson made bats in his spare time, and he chose a 4x4 beam cut from the north side of a particularly strong hickory tree to make one for young Joe Jackson. It measured 36 inches long and weighed about 48 ounces. Ferguson then darkened the bat with tobacco juice. Joe called it Black Betsy, and eventually he took it to the major leagues. In 1908, Jackson began his professional baseball career with the Greenville Spinners of the Carolina Association and eventually signed with Connie Mack to play for the Philadelphia Athletics. Also that same year, he married 15-year-old Katie Wynn, who would remain by his side until his death in 1951. Jackson also played for the Cleveland Naps from 1910 to 1915 and most notably the Chicago White Sox from 1915 to 1920. In 1919, Jackson, along with 7 other Chicago White Sox players, was accused of taking money from a gambling syndicate in exchange for losing that year's World Series against the Cincinnati Reds, later known as the Black Sox Scandal. As a result, Jackson and the others were permanently banned from professional baseball, despite their acquittal in a public trial in 1921. In the ensuing years, his guilt was and continues to be the subject of fierce debate in America. Jackson was forced to retire at the height of his career, but went on and played for and managed several minor league teams. He also ran a successful pool room, dry cleaning business, restaurant, and a liquor store. Jackson, whose lifetime batting average of .356 is still the 3rd highest in Major League history, 4th highest when you factor in Negro League statistics. However, he is the only player to finish his career with a batting average of over .350. In 1911, while playing for the Cleveland Naps, Jackson hit for a .408 average. It is still the 6th highest single-season total since 1901, which marked the beginning of the modern era of the sport. Jackson was also a World Series champion in 1917 and was inducted into the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame in 1951. Despite several attempts to reinstate Jackson, including a 1999 U.S. House of Representatives resolution, which was largely symbolic and ultimately ignored, Jackson remains on Major League Baseball's ineligible list, which automatically prevents his election to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. America's entry into World War I came in April 1917. Thousands had already died on battlefields in Europe, and America could no longer be a bystander. Baseball was eager to show that it was willing to do its part. Ben Johnson ordered teams to do close order drill. The Washington Senators displayed their marching skills on the field during games led by none other than Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. When the United States entered World War I, baseball owners had no reason to stop playing and argued that baseball should be declared an essential wartime industry, so players would be exempt from the draft. That idea, however, failed. According to the Washington Star, July 21, 1918, Secretary Newton Baker ruled that players of the draft age must obtain employment calculated to aid in the successful prosecution of the war, or shoulder a gun and fight. Some players found work in defense industries where they were also paid to play on company teams. However, nearly 250 Major League players did serve their country. A few even gave their lives. Clark Griffith, the Washington Senators owner, then launched a plan to support the troops by raising money to purchase athletic equipment, mainly baseball gear, to outfit every military training camp. The effort to donate sporting goods was joined by the YMCA, Hillerich and Bradsby, or Louisville Slugger, and Spalding. While baseball lost its bid of being considered an essential wartime industry, baseball was considered and continued to be essential to troop morale. Wartime-era Hillerich and Bradsby bats from the 1916-1918 period feature one of three logo styles found, including the triangular YMCA logo, the War Department logo, and the Clark Griffith Bat and Ball Fund logo. The YMCA stamping featured on our example here is not unique to this bat and has been seen on other pro model bats of other players from this era, including Ty Cobb, George Sisler, Tris Speaker, Nap LaHoy, and Hank Gowdy, just to name a few. The YMCA is a worldwide youth organization based in Geneva, Switzerland, and stands for Young Men's Christian Association. The organization was founded in 1844 by Sir George Williams in London. Today there are more than 64 million beneficiaries in 120 countries, as well as nearly 1 million volunteers worldwide. The exact meaning or purpose of the YMCA stamp on certain items, such as baseball bats, and the Y's true relationship with Hillerich and Bradsby has never really been determined with certainty. But the YMCA is credited for shipping some 144,000 bats and 79,680 baseballs to the troops overseas, mainly in France, with the money raised by Griffith. Our example also brandishes the dash center brand from the 1916 to 1929 labeling period. Player-endorsed model bats found with the YMCA logo are identical to the professional model versions of the same era which were used in Major League games. Our Hillerich and Bradsby Louisville Slugger Joe Jackson Pro Model bat was made between 1916 and 1918. As such, it predates any model numbering on the bat, although Louisville Slugger records shows it as a J13. The bat exhibits Joe Jackson's full, pre-banishment endorsed signature on the barrel, and of course, this bears the special YMCA stamp logo on its midpoint just left of the center brand and nearest the handle. Note: Jackson's banishment from baseball conflicted with his Hillerich and Bradsby endorsement contract. To compensate for this issue, H&B decided that starting in 1921 and forever after, all bats made for Jackson would feature only his last name in either a script or block lettering on the barrel. In fact, the Joe portion of his facsimile signature was completely removed from the company die. the only time such a measure was ever taken, so that Joe Jackson's full signature model bats could never again be produced. Aside from the YMCA stamp, it is identical in every respect to a Joe Jackson Pro Model bat made in this era. Our example measures 36 1/4 inches in length and currently weighs 40.3 ounces and is made of ash. The original weight of the bat of 41.5 to 42 ounces is carved into the knob. The knob also exhibits the carved numbers 194, but it's unclear what this references. This presents evidence of outstanding use with a handle crack that has been repaired with nails, as common for the day. Many ball marks are visible on the right, left, and back of the barrel. Cleat marks can also be seen on the right barrel. The handle has been scored approximately 13.5 inches to enhance grip. To date, all known examples of these specially stamped war-era bats are constructed of professional-grade wood. While lengths and weights of the bats may vary, the actual model is identical to the models used by the named player displayed on the barrel. However, our example is a true exception, as it not only matches to being a known Joe Jackson Pro model, it also matches the proper length and weight of other known bats used by Jackson. If not for the special stamping, it would be indistinguishable from any other Joe Jackson H&B Pro Model bat made between 1916 and 1920. So we'd like to send a special thanks out to John Tobby of PSA DNA Authentication Services for helping us to authenticate this great piece. The fact that no known H&B catalogs from this period list YMCA, the War Department, or Clark Griffith's Bat and Ball Fund logo stamp bats for sale to the general public has led some to theorize that bats bearing those stamps were specially produced for use only by servicemen. Others have speculated that the stamps were placed on select Pro model bats and used by the name Pro as a patriotic sign of support for the troops. While both theories appear plausible, the first gives rise to yet another question. If these bats were produced exclusively for the troops, why donate top-of-the-line Pro model bats made to the exact specifications of the respective player? H&B was, at the time, already producing lesser-grade retail model bats, and it certainly would have made more economic sense to send store model bats to the troops rather than Pro model examples. As for the second theory, we don't know of any recorded use, nor have we seen any photographs of a major leaguer using a YMCA or other wartime promotional bat in this era. That's not to say that it never happened, though. Perhaps there was a mixture of servicemen and major leaguers who used these bats. This too is certainly plausible, so if you have any information or documentation that you can lend, we'd love to hear from you. Let's spend a moment talking about value. Because of this wartime stamping, the value of this Joe Jackson model is estimated between $4,000 and $6,000, which is a considerable amount of money, but that is opposed to upwards of $500,000 to $1 million for any other professional or actual game-used Joe Jackson model bat from this era. Other professional models with the YMCA logo, such as Ty Cobb and Nap La Jolla, can fetch between $3,000 to $5,000, while lesser-known players can bring $700 to $1,000 at any given time. Thus, the Joe Jackson example here is the creme de la creme of bats to own with this special and unique branding. However, it's important to note that an item's history or provenance can make a big difference in value as well. For example, we recently acquired this Nap La Jolla Pro Model bat with the YMCA labeling. We acquired this from its original family in France, who has been in possession of it since it was new in World War I. So be sure to obtain and keep those stories with the relics you find. Preserving an item's story or provenance can certainly bring a premium to its overall value. If any of you have one of these bats to sell or want to share your story, or if you have any other information to add regarding this wartime program, especially involving the YMCA and Hillerich and Bradsby or Louisville Slugger, we want to hear from you. contact us or leave us a comment, and we'll be sure to get back to you right away. The more we know about this era and the programs that produced these bats, the better we'll all be able to preserve this great history for future generations. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed our program. If you like our content, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It costs nothing but means a lot to us and keeps us growing. You may also leave us a tip if you choose. A link is provided here on your screen as well as in the description area below. And until next time, everyone, this one is history.